bending complex shapes. So I got this thing, and I want to bend it just a little bit down. Well, that is, we're going to start getting into the 6th and 7th tool that I use all the time, and that's under animation. So I don't know why it's under animation, it just is. In here, we're going to have to create a nonlinear bend. But first, before we do that, let's modify center pivot. Okay? That way when I create it, it's actually in the right spot. Nonlinear bend. Okay, so here's the fun part about this thing. It's positioning it. So here's what I would say. Highlight it first, go into its inputs, and select curvature and bend it just a little bit. Okay, that'll give you a reference point to what axes it needs to be in. What I need to do is take this and rotate it a little in Z. So in here, that turns out to be what? -90. Okay. Now, there's a high bound and low bound. So the low bound is set to -2, and what happens is you can see that bends the tail end of this. The high bound, if I want that to go back into the gun, I can put that at 0. And then the curvature, I can really curve this around. Okay. So what I'm going to do is maybe put a little bit here and a little bit in the high bound, just like that. And then I'm going to take and duplicate this form because you want to get it off this thing. And then I'm going to rotate it, and I think rotating it in my front view would be a lot easier. So I'm going to rotate it just like that. So there we go. We have bullets. And you can see what happened is now my tank is in the way of my bullets. So I can do two things. I can move my bullets and my tank little thing out a little bit further. That might look okay. Another thing I can do is use my next tool to show you that you can manipulate this shape after the fact. And that is the Create Lattice tool. Okay, let's go into the square box. And I'm going to choose 4, 4, 4, and 4 for these and hit apply. So what happens is this looks a little bit too perfect as far as that goes. So what I'm going to do is kind of distress it a little bit in spots. And you got to be very careful because this will warp the shape of the bullets. You can see that some of the bullets are now warping just a little bit. So you only want to use this a little bit only to kind of make this not so perfect. And to get this shape off, you just duplicate this one and then delete this one and then put this one back in. So I just distressed it a little bit. And there we go. So depending on how much bend you want, how much low and high bound you want, and then you can decide, let's say maybe it would look better if I had only a few of these bullets. Well, if I highlight some bullets and go right click with control held down, I can go to shell and I can delete some of these bullets out. So maybe just a few of these coming out of the gun at an angle would be better than having this huge string of bullets. So again, I'm going to do that to shell trick. You can see that it selects all the shells. And you can redo it. If I highlight these, go to shell, then I can hit delete. And there we go. See, that looks a little bit better in the fact that it's more realistic. Again, one was a high poly, one's a low poly. So, you know, it's one of those things that I probably don't want to mix the shapes together. It would produce such a high polygon ratio. Another thing I should have did is look up a reference to an actual gun, so I know, you know, what area to put the little lever that cracks back. Okay, so this is an imaginary toy gun. It doesn't have any usability other than the bullets coming out and the handles. So maybe a little tiny handle right here that pulls this form back and then puts a new bullet in. It'd probably be automatic though. But there we go. That's how you produce a lot of detail based upon really big objects and shrinking them really far down. And then meet me in the next video where I can cover a little bit more.